If you guys notice me start to melt during this video, that's because it's hot as balls outside. What is up, all you literary pimps and gems? It is your girl Deja, and I am back with a brand new video on my channel. A couple of weeks ago, I put a poll out on Twitter on what you guys preferred when I decided that I wanted to film a review for all of the books that I've read so far in 2018. Majority ruled that I do one long video. Unfortunately, when I tried to film that video, I was a little more than halfway through when I got to like a 40-minute mark, and I was like, this is not gonna work. So I've decided to split this wrap-up, this 6-month wrap-up, into 3 different sections. So I've read 18 books. There will be 6 books in each section. So this is going to be part 1. My goal is to film all of these and then upload them like boom, boom, boom right after each other. Hopefully that's how that goes, but you guys know me, hot mess in progress. That's probably not going to happen. But I will do my best to try to get these all out within a timely manner. So hopefully by the time you're seeing this, within the next hour or 2 or within 24 hours, you'll see the second one, and then the same thing with the third one. So without further ado, because I don't want this video to be ridiculously long, let's just jump straight into this. So the first book that I read in 2018 was The Maze Runner by James Dashner. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. This was my second time reading this. The first time I read this book, I think I was a sophomore in high school, and my reading tastes have changed drastically since then. I mean, it's changed drastically since a year ago when I discovered booktube, but even more so since then. So I did not enjoy this book as much as I did the first time around that I read it. So this book follows our main protagonist named Thomas in this post-apocalyptic dystopian world. He wakes up in this place called the Glade with no other memory but his name. He has to learn how to survive with all the other Gladers. Everybody has their job, and when everybody does their job, everything works out well. But Thomas is curious and he wants to know more, which being curious in the Glade is dangerous. But that curiosity might actually save their lives when a girl is sent up, the very first girl, with a message that says that she is the last one ever. So now they are on the clock to solve the puzzle of the maze before everyone in the Glade is killed by these creepy creatures called grievers. So like I said, I felt that this book was enjoyable. Like I said, not as enjoyable as the first time for me. I think the thing that it lacked was character development. While you could feel the suspension, you could feel the desperation of the characters, and that's something that I really stressed when I did a review for this book on my blog. And if you guys want to go read it, it'll be down in the description below. I didn't think that they fleshed out their characters well enough. While you could tell each character had their own distinct personality, that was about it. We didn't really get to know each of these characters well enough for me to necessarily care. I think the only character that I ended up caring about was Chuck, and yeah. So this is a great book if you are just getting into like dystopian or post-apocalyptic novels. This is a great starter novel, I think. It's nothing too heavy, it's nothing too complicated. It is just, I think, a basic novel. It does get more intricate as you continue to read the series, but in this book, it's kind of just like surface level. The second book I read was The Scorched Trials by James Dashner, which is the sequel to The Maze Runner. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. So a lot of the issues that I had with the first book in terms of the characters, I think was fixed, or it was addressed in this book, because while the first book was a lot of action, like everything was just fast paced, there's a lot of points in this book where things slow down. You take time to learn more about the characters, you take time to try to figure out the mystery of Wicked, who they are, what exactly they want, what the group of Gladers, what their purpose is. So this book, I think, was slower. It still had a lot of action in it, but it took the time to, you know, delve more into the actual plot of the story, rather than it just being like this fast-paced action type of movie almost, which they all are movies, but you get the point that I'm trying to make. I hope you get the point that I'm trying to make. So yes, 4 out of 5 stars. I thought that this one was significantly better than the first one. The only thing that I did not like about this book was the same issue that I have with the first book, which is mostly Teresa. I did not like her character. I thought that her character was kind of pointless in this whole series. I felt like she was a throwaway character, and I especially thought she was a throwaway character in this book because she was only kind of thrown in when they needed to further along the plot, and I didn't like that because I didn't think her character was that significant to the plot in the first place, but they kept throwing her in at these random points, and I was just like, you're throwing me off because what is her purpose? Why is she here? It kind of gets answered why she's there, but at the same time it was a dumb explanation. I think it was a dumb explanation, but they expected us as readers to kind of just go with it, and I was just like, no. But yeah, that's my only grievance with this entire series is Teresa for the most part. I cannot stand her at all. So the next book was actually The Death Cure, which is the last book in the trilogy. I actually ended up DNFing this book. Officially, I think I gave it like 2 stars, I think is what I gave it. I got a little more than halfway through on this book, but I feel like everything that they fixed in the second book, when they got to the third book, they just reverted back to what was wrong and then just made it worse. This book was so slow. Like I said, I got like halfway through it and nothing had happened. There was maybe this minor like escape scene at the beginning, and I say minor because you had no idea what was going on. It was really confusing. You had to kind of like fill in, I think, parts to understand it, and I just thought that the third one was kind of sloppy. I thought it was going to be better because the second one was better than the first, and I thought the third would be better than the second, but unfortunately that's not what happened. And on the other side, this is the first book that I've ever DNF'd, so there's that too. It could have been so much better, but it wasn't, and I was so disappointed. But the next book I read was Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. This was actually the Hot Mess Book Club pick for the month of January. If you guys didn't know, I am one of the hosts of the Hot Mess Book Club that I run here on BookTube with 3 other amazing ladies. Dana over at Waitlisted at Hogwarts, Morgan over at Morgie Reads, and then Rhiannon over at Crescent Moon Reads. So this was the book that we read for the month of January, and I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is literally the history of Norse mythology from the creation of the gods all the way until Ragnarok, but in like short story form. And I've heard wonderful things about Neil Gaiman, and if all his other work is like this, I know that I'll enjoy that. For me, the part that I did not necessarily enjoy is that I'm not really into Norse mythology. Do I know about it? Yeah. Do I watch Thor Marvel movies like everybody else? Absolutely. But I was never a person that like gets into mythology, and while it was a quick read, it was interesting. You got to know how Thor got his hammer because Loki cut off his wife's hair, and he had to trick these like trolls or whatever they were into making like these gifts. It was a mess. This book was a mess, but it was like a great mess. But like I said, because for me this wasn't like the most like interesting thing to know about, I did not enjoy this book as much as I thought I would. Because it's a subject that I don't necessarily enjoy, I did not enjoy it as much as I probably should have, but that's just personal taste. If you are into mythology, in particular Norse mythology, this is going to be a fantastic book for you. You will fly through this, probably reread this, and then like call this your holy Bible. I'm just kidding. That's exaggerating, but you get the point. It was, yeah. The next book I read was Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. If you guys saw my discussion video, you guys know that I was just gushing over this book because it was freaking fantastic. First of all, this is the very first book that I've ever read that's written in verse. If you don't know what that means, it's almost kind of written like poetry. And instead of, you know, straight lines on a page, it's like a section here, words falling down the page. And it's written to go along with the story is telling. So this book follows 16-year-old Will, whose older brother Sean has been shot and killed. And Will knows that you have to follow the rules of the hood. Rule number 1, no crying. Rule number 2, never snitch. And rule number 3, get revenge always. So after his brother is killed, Will gets on the elevator with his brother's gun, which he notices has a bullet missing, and he's gonna go kill the guy that he thinks kills his brother. But on his way down to the lobby, on every single floor, a person from his past that has died gets on the elevator to talk to him. Hold on, I thought something was crawling up my leg. I almost, ooh. Anyways, going back to this, a person from his past gets on the elevator and talks to him. This book, I finished it in under an hour. It is so quick and it's so short, but it is so powerful. And the ending is not necessarily an ending. You have to decide whether or not he gets off the elevator and does what he wants to do, or whether he listens to the people from his past. And the way that Jason Reynolds words this ending, it's just like, but which way did he go? We don't know. You just have to decide for yourself, and I absolutely love that. While I am a sucker for a happy ending and sometimes a tragic ending is needed, I love open-ended stories, especially one like these, because it just opens it up for discussion, which of course I jump straight on. So I would definitely recommend this. This book was amazing. This will definitely be on my list for top books that I've read in 2018 because it was just that good. And then the last book that I'm going to be discussing here is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Again, this was a 5-star read without a doubt. I don't know why it took me so long to read this book, and I regret not having read it earlier so that I could have read it again. So this book follows 16-year-old Star and what happens after her best friend Khalil gets shot and killed by a police officer. This book follows so... Okay, first of all, this book was inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement. If you ask author Angie Thomas, she always says that. Yes, this was inspired by Black Lives Matter. This has been inspired by like Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and all the people that have been like shot and killed by police officers. And so this takes the narrative of a witness of what happens, and she's stuck between this place of the police are showing her kind of like this animosity because she was a witness, but at the same time she's just like Black Lives Matter is kind of stirring up some trouble in her neighborhood, and she's just a 6-year-old girl that wants to get back to normal life and doesn't necessarily want to deal with this, but at the same time she feels like she has to speak up for her friend Khalil. And it's a very powerful book. I am so excited for the movie to come out. They show the trailer, I almost cried, and then like Angie Thomas, she posted the video of her when she watched it and she was crying, and then I almost cried, and I feel like a lot of other people were crying or almost crying, eyes burning, and I was just like, why are there onions in the room? It's just a mess. I love this book for multiple reasons, and one of the main ones was because this is the first time I think I've ever felt mostly represented in a book. I totally identified with Star on so many different levels, but even if you are not black, even if you aren't related to somebody who's in law enforcement, I believe this is a story that everybody can relate to, that everybody can take something from. It's just a great read. It's fantastic. Like I said, this is another book that will definitely be going on my top books read in 2018 without a shadow of a doubt. This book was freaking fantastic, and I loved it. So that is all I have for part 1 of this video. If you guys like this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to, you can subscribe to my channel for more. And if you guys have read these books, tell me what you think. Like, I want to know, because like just because I gave something 5 stars or I DNF something doesn't mean you agree with me. So let me know down in the comment section down below what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!